Just a little food for thought. So we're looking at fifth, Ultra G5 coming out, right? I want to be careful about how I say it, which could be in the beginning of January. Now we don't know if they might push it back or go forward a day or two, but I do know one thing. From the time March 11th hit when they announced the pandemic, and if you were to go all the way to January 6th, that would be 666 days. Notice how they're playing with the dates because they don't want to be so obvious, and they're going to push it out January the 5th. Now, the FAA is already telling the FCC that this could be very dangerous for plane flight and navigation. You could actually bring down planes with this technology because of the high frequency of it. Now, understand this. If the Nephi's know, just like the devils knew before Jesus cast them out, that their day of torment, because they said, what if you have to do with us? Our day of torment is not as yet, not of yet. So they know the appointed time as well. So could they be using this technology so when Harpazo really does happen and we're taken out of the way, and then the electric grid goes down, and they leave it down on purpose, no one can scramble around and try to figure out what's going on. They could also use this technology to explain away why the planes crashed, and it wasn't because of saved pilots were raptured off. Well, people say, well, they have autopilot on their plane. They don't use autopilot all the time. And even if you do have it on there, who's going to fly the plane if the saved pilots are snatched off the plane? They could also use this technology to explain away what happened to people and why they disappeared. So there's a couple of different avenues they could go down the street with this technology, using it as an excuse to explain certain things. Now, I'm not saying always when, as I always say, I'm not saying when rapture should be, but what we're looking at is things that they could use for this technology as a way of an excuse as to what happened or why the planes came down when everybody was snatched. Just a thought. Because it's going to be weaponized, and you can better believe they're going to use it to the fullest abilities. Now, I don't believe, now this is going to be dangerous for everybody on the planet. Now, here's another thing. If AT&T and Verizon are launching this technology, it's not going to be in every market across the U.S. But remember, last year they built out the network. So this was a 2-year process. The reason why they put everybody on punishment in the house is so that they could throw this stuff up without anybody paying attention to what they were doing, because they was doing this in other countries. But I don't believe in every single market it will go live. You might have New York, Chicago, LA, maybe Dallas, some really big markets where all the money is, where they're going to launch this in the beginning. It's going to be dangerous for everybody, pure bloods and Maxine blood. Worse for Maxine blood because of the things that are in them, and already how they are already transistoring now, walking by certain electronics. So when this thing is turned on and it goes live, imagine what it's going to do. Now, I don't believe it's going to be an instantaneous thing. I think it's going to be one of those deals to where you might see some sickness over the course of a week. Okay. Now, EMF, no, I can't even say that. Ooh, the Holy Spirit protect this video. I better be careful. How can I say this? Fifth gear air poisoning, okay, is very real in your own house with electronics, especially if you have a lot of electronics in your house and you got bad wiring. You can have some serious air pollution due to frequency. You could be standing next to a TV that may not be, or the insulation or the wall outlet may not be right, and you start feeling funny, feeling dizzy, feeling sick. This is a real thing, okay, when you're dealing with frequency traveling through your body on a consistent basis, especially when you're standing in front of it, or you walk in between, or you walk in and out of the barrier. So imagine this being on 24/7, and because of the new fifth gear technology, it has to be put up in close proximity to one another, because it's not like the fourth gear where you could have it distancing, and the range of fourth gear had a longer throw. This has a short throw. So they've been implementing these intermediate installs to where they can be closer together, and it's almost as the effect of a just imagine a conventional oven being open on you all day long, every day. And for both sides, Pures and Maxine's, it's going to be bad. And you will see a lot of things being pushed, and they're going to blame it on the Pures because we have not been polluted yet. And this is going to be the psyop and how they're going to run this scam. This is the reason why the Lord needs to get us out of here soon and very soon. And then I look at how Biden's proclamation had just been put back in order. God delayed it the first time. So what are we looking at if he then reinstated it and allowed Biden's proclamation to go through? And everything culminates in January. Boston, New York, Illinois, California. There are things that are going to be implemented in January, and so far God has not stopped the progress. He's going to allow it to happen. So if he allows that to happen, what kind of time period are we looking at when there's an escape plan for the bride? And if this technology is allowed to be turned on, which I call it fallen angel tech, we all should know this by now. They could use this as an excuse to where people went and why planes came down. So I'm going to keep referring to that little girl in Indonesia. If she said that she heard the loud voice of a shofar and it was at the beginning of the year, a new year. Now she was given that dream September during Rosh Hashanah 2020, and she got that dream 4 times. And so far, everything in her dream has been accurate. Now, I know people like to think, well, the orange guy isn't sitting in the king's chair right now, but we all know, whether you were in favor of him or not, the evidence is clear that it was taken from him. And that's evident now by the people who put Crypt Keeper in there right now and how they are having buyer's remorse. So everything about that little girl's dream was true. Even her October 10th, as I said on the call last night, her vision before the dream came true. Out of the mouth of babes can come some wisdom. And we need to be humble enough to accept it could be a truth prophecy. So we look at the convergence and everything coming in the month of Januus, which is a pagan god's name for January. It's very possible. But then again, I think about Luke 12 and 40. I'm coming at an hour that you think not. So that means all the studying that we're doing, everybody, whether we agree with this study or that study, none of us are going to get it right. None of us. And nobody has gotten it right since I started following this in 2020. I said, wait a minute. Why is everybody pagan or trying to put the dot on a Jewish feast day or a holiday or a trumpet day when the rapture is not about the Jews? God is not rapturing anything around anything the Jews got going on. Obviously not, because when I started following this stuff last year, 2020, none of these things happened on none of these Jewish feast days. Everybody kept making these calendars about, and then nothing happened. Holy Spirit then told me, he said, I asked and I prayed. I said, why is nothing happening on these projection dates? And he showed me. He told me, straight out, I'm not coming based for them. I'm coming for you, the Gentiles, the church, the bride. And if you look at the word snatching away disqualifies any kind of date or feast or ordinance that they did, or none of that. It has nothing to do with that. That's why people keep getting these dates wrong and then keeps centering our departure around a Jewish edict or a Jewish custom or a Jewish holiday, because it's not about the Jews. Not about the Jews. It's about those who have found their righteousness through the faith and belief of Yeshua HaMashiach, Jesus Christ himself. That's what it's about. And he's going to pull us at the right time. And then again, we must be humble enough to understand that just because we come up with a date, that don't mean, and you might want to put your stake in it and say, well, mine is right and everybody else is wrong. If you go by what he said, I'm coming at an hour that you think not. Which means all the studying that we can do, none of it's going to add up to anything, because he's going to come at a day that nobody even conceived of. I didn't think he was going to come on no Thursday at 11 o'clock, whatever date. But we're blessed for watching anyway, because there will be a reward for us. Our watching and calculating will be justified. How? At the Bema seat, with crowns of achievement. Okay? And at the same time, this is what a lot of people don't understand about performing a good work. This is your good work that you're doing now. Well done, my good and faithful servant. You have watched for me, and you have not watched the world. You have not feared the world, but you have feared him, the Elohim. You have been loyal to his word and his commandment. You have kept yourself straight. You have not dipped in the pool of the world and then try to put your foot in the pool of the Holy Spirit. You can't serve both. It's one or the other. So just a little thought on what they could do with this technology, how they could use it as an excuse as to why planes are all of a sudden falling down out of the sky, where people disappeared to, you know. But on the flip side of that, on the natural side, they are going to use this technology to blame it on the pures, because we have not voluntarily allowed ourselves to be infected or diluted or poisoned. Dangerous, dangerous times ahead, folks. Dangerous times. War. You know, they've admittedly, as I said before, admittedly on YouTube, that they have purposely activated all the volcanoes around the world for global warming purposes. So January is going to be a big month. By next week, there's going to be some stuff happening. And if God doesn't delay his decrees, Biden's decrees, and he allows this 100 employee thing to go forward, people are going to have to make a decision. Man doesn't live by bread alone, right? So you're going to have to make a decision. Strong people I'm telling you, strong people fixing to tap out. Getting ready to tap, because you're going to be pressured by a decision that really is no pressure on you, but you're allowing them to pressure you mentally. So you're going to say, you know what? Instead of going off looking for another job, you're going to cling to that money, because you're afraid to lose that money and have to take a job for a lesser pay. But at least if you do take one for a lesser pay, you know that you're not being pressured, because not all establishments are going to abide by this. And they're already fighting it in court right now, so it could get delayed, who knows? But if it doesn't, you know, then we are looking for a Red Sea moment, straight up. We're being pressured, folks, on every side. These things we hold in our hand every day are going to be a biological weapon. They are, and they're going to be used. This is if you think about it, they rolled the floor plan out in 2020. They promoted it through prepaid carriers, through all the mobile connections. Even in your house, you might have a fifth gear router. That's just as dangerous. And they're making it now to where they're going to, they slowly edged out your third gear. Now they're getting ready to edge out your fourth gear technology to where you're going to have to get a fifth gear. So they're pretty much ensuring that they put their plans in motion and their plans come into place and they get their goals accomplished. It's like having a Trojan horse in 8 billion plus people's hands at any time. So, yeah, This is the year. This is the time. This is the season. These next few weeks to a month, it's going to mean something real big. Real big. But yet, as I put the animation up, we could be in the fire and be protected. As Meshach, Shadrach, and Abednego was protected. The king said, I see a fourth person in there. Who is that? And so that could be us. Even if we have to live through this launching of technology, God could protect us and wait it out to the very end of the last day of the 120 year of judgment. Of course, Nisan 1 starts April 2nd. That's in all the lunar studies that I have found when God's New Year begins. March is Adar, which is the 12th month. A lot of things that they expect to happen in the 12th month as well. Mr. Gates believes that this will be over with because everybody will have their propaganda on and everybody will be vaccined up. And so we'll be able to come out of this Megatron variant. So between January and March, this is critical. So I'll see you guys on the call tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern. Again, I'm going to drop that call info in the bottom, and we're going to be muted for 90 minutes. I want everybody to be able to talk without being interrupted. And then after the 90 minutes, we'll have the free-for-all and open up the phone line. We was on the line for 5 hours last night. A little frustrating at times, overbearing people. we gotta rein that in, folks, and be on here with a little bit more respect for one another. But we're going to continue to do this thing on maybe 2 or 3 times a week, depending on my work schedule. So see you tonight on the call. The info will be in the comments pinned, so you can get on the call tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern. If you are in Texas, Central Time, you're behind an hour. If you're on the West Coast, I believe Mountain Time is 2 hours. West Coast is 3 hours. Okay, but look forward to hearing you on the call tonight. Deuces. I know you folks like to steal my stuff. I'm going to have to come up with something else. Ain't no limit when God is in it. Somebody said it on the call last night. So it ain't no limit, really. All right, guys. Talk to you later. 2 fingers.